Guys, it's time. It's time for a public service announcement. It's time for a YouTube video brought to you by Mars_NE. And it's time for me to make fun of Vars III. Let me take a different angle. I've talked to a lot of mid-level players before. That's, you know, they have opinions. And in fact, I would say that they have stronger opinions than some top-level players. However, they are very passionate about their wrong opinions. Vars is no exception, and he has gone and made 2 propaganda pieces primarily about Cloud, but also about Swordfighters in general in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The first video is titled The Downfall of Swordfighters, and the second one is Cloud Sucks, You Are All Wrong. We're going to debunk a little bit of what Vars is saying. I actually haven't watched the video yet, but I just want him to be wrong, and I hope he doesn't make any great points throughout this video because, I mean, making fun of people is way more exciting than agreeing with them, so... Sword fighter is a very loose term. You might think to yourself that sword fighter is limited to just a character with a sword, but I would say that a sword fighter is a character who has like primarily disjointed hitboxes. And, you know, there's a case to be made for like low-key Donkey Kong to be a sword character because he is full of disjoints and uncontestable bull hitboxes, but obviously he doesn't actually have a sword. His limbs just kind of function as one sometimes. And then you have your poverty sword characters like Olimar, who, yeah, it's a disjoint, but you can also just like kill the disjoint with your own hitbox, and it's poverty mode. Anyway, I digress. Something to keep in mind when you're thinking about the concept of sword fighters and, you know, what that really means.
Among the game's selection of archetypes, sword fighters take up a prominent share of the market. Out of the 89 fighters in this game, 16 of them are official members of that class, while an extra half dozen or more could be up for consideration.
These are the characters that are up for consideration. Sure. Yeah, I would honestly say Meta Knight is hardly a disjoint character. It's about this big, you know, and size does matter when it comes to talking about disjoints, and I'm sorry to say. Ganondorf is like hardly a case for that. Whereas like I would consider DDD a disjoint character because all of his hitboxes are, you know, almost all of his hitboxes are disjointed to some degree.
I noticed that sentiments towards the archetype have been gradually diminishing over the years. So for today, I wanted to make a video discussing the downfall of sword fighters in Ultimate. For an archetype that used to completely dominate the metagame, why have they been dropping off?
I'm curious as to like how early in the metagame he's going to talk about because like, dude, any character could have done good in early game, bro. People didn't know what was going on. Leo was winning with Ike. That character is booty butt cheeks, dude. It's nothing to do with nerfs, you know?
A bit of context is in order on where this idea came from because I'm sure some of you are scratching your...
Did he put Steve as one of the disjoint characters? He did not. But think about literally all of Steve's hitboxes. Low-key honorary sword character. Min, low-key honorary sword character. You know what I mean?
As an archetype, sword fighters are mostly characterized by their simplicity. While they may have combos, and some of the more eccentric ones like Shulk and Robin could have some more elaborate mechanics, by and large, swordies are meant to be straightforward in how they approach the game. They have a straightforward neutral game, straightforward advantage, and straightforward disadvantage. Most of them rely on a strong range of attributes to give them the edge over others.
It's important to note that it's like a simple but effective play style with like 1 to 2 options to mix between, and I feel like people, you know, it like sounds simple, or because you call it simple that makes it sound like it's bad, but it's not like that at all because it's simple because there's nothing that your opponent can do about it and you can just keep spamming it. Not always the case, obviously, but
continuing the analogy, what can a sword do against a gun? Sure, the gun can run out of ammo and become entirely useless, whereas the sword can keep...
What is bro talking about? This is typical mid-level gabbing. Bro's talking about ammunition in a fighting game. What is this? Happy Chaos?
Her power level will look something like 80 to 120, giving her a clean average of 100.
What is bro talking about? He's just assigning power levels now to characters?
Conversely, if we were to look at a character like Luigi, Luigi's the antithesis of bounce. He's got some of the worst horizontal air movement in the game, along with being relatively floaty, with his only redeeming physics quality being a high vertical jump height.
We're still talking about sword characters, by the way. I don't know why he's talking about Luigi, but...
Luigi carries an output of 125, making him a better character than...
So did he just... I'm sorry, like am I the one on drugs here? Like, he just, like, made, like, a power scale, put Luigi on the low end, and then rebalanced Luigi in his own eyes with stuff that was always there. I'm not understanding what this guy's talking about. Am I crazy? Luigi's more volatile, so he gets a higher score than Luigi. I'm sorry, Lucina.
Lucina. Despite being much worse on the downside, he provides exponentially more benefit in favorable situations.
Okay, yeah, I think that's the point that he's trying to make, is that, yeah, sword fighters on average are a lot more consistent, whereas a character that's like, you know, very strong, but sometimes very bad, like Luigi, Luigi's better.
If you think about it, the vast majority of sword fighters maxed out their strength long ago. Lucina, Cloud, Roy, Ike, Korra, nothing they do is anything new compared to the years before.
Okay, see, now we're actually making points. This is actually stuff I say about Zerusu all the time. She hit her ceiling by like the second year of the game. And that's actually totally fair. Sword fighters generally don't have anything too complicated to go for. And as he is saying, the power level, his little figurative little power level thing here is just a lot lower by comparison. But I don't know, I kind of disagree with the whole concept just because in my head, consistency is key in a game like Ultimate. The most important thing you can have is a screw you, die at 0% move. And then also in fighting games in general, consistency is what makes a character viable or not. And I think both are true for Ultimate. So if your character can consistently do a die at 0 move, which is what we are doing now, then that's where you have like all of your best characters in the entire game right now for Ultimate. I see what he's saying. And sword fighters have neither of the above. So they haven't really followed the meta. Sure.
The closest we got to is...
I think the most preposterous sword fighter is this right here, Egis. Just insane. They were just like, okay, sword fighter, except both extremes and whenever you want them.
Sure, we have a lot of representation by way of Leo, Spargo, Aquila, Carmelo, and Shuton, but not a single solo Aegis player is currently in the top 50. Shouldn't they be capable of doing so if they're top 10 on the tier?
You know what's kind of interesting for sword fighters in general is that they have a little bit of time in the light, and then they very quickly, rapidly almost, just kind of fade out of relevance. Think about Byleth, had a little time in the sun. Corrin had a little bit of time in the sun for a little bit. Lucina and Ike at the beginning. Aegis, I feel like, has also kind of ebbed and flowed, but like has kind of come back a lot more consistently than like any of the other sword fighters. Whereas like, yeah, kind of like he's saying, like where Lucina is just kind of very slowly going down compared to like every other sword character. And like Robin also getting a little bit of time in the sun. Sora, like the day he came out when Zach Ray won that tournament, then never again because Sora players are bad, for lack of a better word. I think the simplicity is kind of the problem here and the lack of mix for sword characters.
Swordies are all basically stuck playing in 2020, wherein it's about winning neutral, then pushing your lead through advantage before resetting back to neutral and doing it over.
I think I'm now realizing how important the mental stack is in this game. It's a phrase I've really only used when playing Street Fighter, and one that I've never really thought that I've been overwhelmed with Ultimate, because I don't know, I guess I am just good at thinking and, you know, managing things that I actually have to care about in this game. But when I'm fighting sword characters, I'm just like, are they pressing A or not? You know what I mean? Whereas if I'm fighting Sonic, I'm like, he can spin dash, he can homing attack at any point, he can spin dash through me, he can spin dash and jump above me so that he can catch my jump. And he can also just choose to do nothing. Whereas sword characters, they just don't have that, like, there's just all that depth. When I'm fighting Lucina, I'm like, she jumped, all right, time to parry. Oh, he grabbed me. Okay, I took 20. Go next. You know what I mean? Sword fighters are kind of just, I guess, pretty bad in this game when you think of it like that. Oh, Sora's a very silly character. Yeah, I mean, Sora should, you know, Sora should, by all intents and purposes, be good at this point, but Sora players just aren't doing it. Who are you referring to when you say Sora players? I want you to look into my eyes when I say this. Sora players. People who play Sora. All right, I'm done.
Sonic's able to outmaneuver the entire cast to such an extent that he's one of the few characters in the game.
What do you, if you are tied in percent like this, what do you do? If you are both at 142.5, what do you do? Do you go for the attack, or do you go for the one stock 3 minute? Genuine question. This is a personality test. So for those of you who don't know, if they end the game at completely even percents, you guys play one game of one stock, a minute 30 seconds. I'm a sorry you see you in 3 minutes. Honestly, same, bro. I would play for time. I would rather we go to a stock 3 minutes. And it's not even about being it's about me being like, okay, I'm better than you. And I would rather we both have a fresh stock than run the risk of you just like hitting me with like a dinky little hitbox randomly on accident and then I lose. I'd rather it go to the stock than the timeout. Yeah, I feel like timer is like the best thing you can do here. And I wonder if both of them are about that.
Beat you without?
Yo. Imagine you guys shielded, Ken, and then you just lost your game.
Fighting you thanks to the timer. Even not so.
Like homing attack is like low-key a cheap option to go for there, but I guess you kind of have to, right? I don't know. You don't have to, but it's the thing to do. Mars, what happens if after that one stock 3 minutes that you still both have the same percent? Then you get disqualified and they call you guys both cringe, and then you guys have to go home. And you can't enter any more tournaments for the next month.
When speaking with top swordie mains, practically all of them believe you can't solo main any of them. Overpowered as they may be, not even Spargo or Cola think Egis is solo viable, and they're two of the best swordie players of all time. What do you guys think? Do you agree with my point?
I think that they are wrong and dumb. I think Aegis is overpowered and should never lose neutral.
So if you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you'd like to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow.
Okay, Vars, I hate to say, but you've made a good point in this first video. Though, I think you're kind of underestimating a lot of, sword characters in general. Like, they really are still good. And the X factor of a sword character is completely, unexplored. I feel like a lot of people don't know how to play Smash when they were playing like a sword character. So for example, remember what I said earlier with when I'm fighting a Lucina, I think to myself, oh, they're going to do one of two things. And if I guess wrong, so it goes, whatever, who cares? But when I play a sword character, my freak would be I'll jump into someone's shield and then I will do side B. I will do footstool on their shield, side B1 momentum cancel falling up air, and just to be, a little cheeky with it. You know what I mean? But I'm also the mix guy. So I think, if more people who played swordies tried to do just more creative stuff in general, then it would, work out for them really well. I think Ignace is a really good example of a swordie player who was very creative. I think he ended up changing his tag. I don't know what it is now, but he really pushed the limits of just how weird you can get with a sword character. And his results, maybe they were a little inconsistent, but his highs were pretty high, and he was a pretty scary player when he was doing well. I never got to play him, unfortunately, and I know the one time I watched him play a top player, he got kind of smoked, but it was light, so poor guy. He played a -2. So who do you mean? He played Marth. This guy that I'm talking about, he was a very impressive, creative player, and he played Marth. I think he switched to Cloud or something sad. I think Cloud as a sword character, it kind of he helps with the main issue that a lot of sword characters have, and that he adds to that mental stack. So that's why I'm kind of interested to disagree with this this video here. Cloud sucks, you are all wrong. I think that's why Spargo's really good, because he scares you into picking kind of just dumb options most of the time, to be honest.
In fact, I wouldn't even go so far as to say he's at the top of high tier. He's probably...
Okay, he's at the top of high tier. Come on. Has Mars had a bad opinion? Bro, I don't think so. I'm going to be completely honest.
Wouldn't you know, at the 4th official tier list...
Where did they put Cloud? Right there? Sure. I mean, I might bump him up to where Roy is. I'd say. I do genuinely think Spargo is just that good. Listen, I was in a similar spot for my character. Think about it. When I was doing really, really good way back when, people were oh, Zero Suit, she goes up here in this top row, blah, blah, blah. And I'm no, guys, I think Zero Suit goes over here, over here. Mind you, the cast was smaller, so this... Remember, you minus the DLC characters, that's kind of where she lands if you get rid of all that. So it's not that I thought she was good. You know what I mean? We got to downplay every day. So, I thought Zero Suit was just a solid A tier at the time. And then I was just him. And people were no, you're not that good, buddy. Chill out. And now I'm, Spargo's going through the same thing, dude.
Though he's nowhere near as dominant
It's
as
me! No, it's Smash 4!
Smash 4, Prevailing Wisdom views Cloud.
I didn't deserve that.
But as still a proficient character in the meta. Ever since he got buffed in version 7, he's been perennially ranked in the upper half of the cast. By all accounts, he's a good character. One of the best players in Ultimate's history.
I think what a lot of people don't understand is the do's and don't understand is the do's and don'ts versus Cloud. And mid-level and high-level players are very good at doing the don'ts. You know what I mean? Don't be above Cloud. Don't let him recover for free. Parry some of his aerials if you know how. Don't get side bead. Why are you getting side bead? You should just, that's a lose condition, is getting side bead in general. You should kind of always be thinking about it.
On paper as well, Cloud's a very strong character. He's got some of the best movement spread in the game. Good ground speed, air speed, jump height, overall great mobility. He's not deficient in any particular metric. For a character...
I want to kind of break down this clip, because people have done this for me, so now I'm going to do this for somebody else. But think about the guessing correctly that he had to do to get out of the situation. So he jumped away from this, burning one of his resources, and he still has to land above, land on the stage against Pyrometra, which is really hard and very scary when you're at 104% up air and back air kill you, and getting your landing caught by a dash attack or a down air means you're dead. So Spargo guesses very correctly in a risky thing and doesn't do a panic landing here. Well, he touches the platform to refresh his resources, and then he just comes down with no fear of any hitbox, chops him up, nair on the reaction, which is, I wouldn't say a guess, but a mistake that had to be made for him to get in this position. So guessed correctly plus mistake, and then a guess on the timing on this up B here. Also guess on the neutral get up timing too.
He's not deficient in any particular
4 things had to go correctly just for him to take that stock and not die at the same time. Very impressive stuff. I know it's just a small interaction, But just think about the black and white of it.
A lot of characters have that one player effect. I'm not saying Cloud's the only one to have this. Again, with the whataboutisms, two things can be right at the same time. But having such a massive gap in between the best player and the second best player gives out the impression that it's not the character that's strong, but the player, especially for...
I think it's important to distinguish that there are characters that have good results that are good, and characters that have good results that are just okay. So think of like, I guess I want to compare two extremes. So like Cloud, which is literally exactly what we're talking about, where we're just saying the character's like A tier, and there's one guy representing him. We know where he stands, roughly, more or less. And then think of a character like Min Min, who also has only one representative. So you're like, naturally, you're thinking to yourself, like, oh, that means, you know, Min Min is also only A tier. It's like, well, no, Min Min is still very strong. She's in contention for S tier. Just those like small discrepancies are just like worth thinking about. And it's an interesting conversation to have. Like Fox, he has one representative. Is he broken? I don't know. You really have to like think critically about those kinds of characters. What is Cloud's easiest trait? What makes him easy to start with but hard to be consistent with? I think he's kind of like zoning for babies. Side B and back air is like excellent at keeping people out, but I think the like thing that like truly distinguishes people is just like playing like advantage state. Like Spargo overextends an advantage a lot, and I think that's kind of where he makes most of his money compared to like most Smash players. Or most Cloud players, I would say. He goes for that extra double jump read back air. You know, he's an excellent person at like dealing with shield and like making a call out and going for a grab or like a counter parry option. Just his aggression. So I'd say just like how you play close quarters and also just getting more out of your advantage state is the hardest part to like learn about Cloud. Because overextending is like a little scary sometimes, obviously, because Cloud has like a pretty exploitable recovery in some situations. So, and against some characters. And yeah, that's about it. Agree fully, point and click buttons, but playing traditional advantage can lead to risk, which is so unorthodox. Yeah, and kind of what we were talking about in the previous video that I was watching was that like sword fighters tend to fall into this like very linear, like press A or don't play style. And I feel like with Cloud, it's very easy to fall into that because his A buttons are generally safer than any other sword character's buttons. So he just like he's like Lucina level if you play him like a traditional sword fighter, but he has so many more options that need to be used. Just think about how many like up tilts and F tilts and down tilts that Cloud is, or that Spargo uses that I wouldn't really expect when I fight another Cloud player. If I'm fighting any other like high level Cloud player, I'm just like, okay, dealing with forward air, dealing with back air, the occasional side B, ZZZ, you know what I mean? Then like I got Spargo running up on my doing pivot up tilts as an approach option. I'm like, okay, big guy, relax, you know?
Cloud, as a character, lives and dies by stray hits. Aside from a couple situational combo setups to rack up damage at low percent, he doesn't really have an easy way to confirm into a kill.
That's not like an issue though. That's like stuff that people were saying about Wolf in early game, that Wolf sucked because he struggled to kill. Bro, you know who else struggled to kill? Zersu, and she still does, and I was still getting results. And you know who else struggles to kill? Fox. You wouldn't think he does, but he does because, you know, like Light is really good at securing kills. You know who else is really good at securing kills? Spargo, because he's got a lot of safe hitboxes. Sometimes when you have a character that struggles to kill, you just need to play it safe. You need to let the kill come to you, and I think so many like mid-level players and even some low-level players, part of what holds them back is that they see an opponent at kill percent and they just start seeing red. And it is such a bad habit that I see. It's like, oh no, like somebody hits like 100% and it's like, okay, I can't use my poke moves anymore. And it's like, are you stupid? Why are you doing that? He's like, okay, up smash is on the menu, forward smash is on the menu. It's like, no, dude, just play normal. Just, you have such a solid character. Why are you making him worse by limiting your options?
In that respect, Cloud has quite a few attacks that perform competently. Forward tilt, up smash, down smash, dash attack, forward air, back air, down air, and limit cross slash, blade beam, and climax.
That's a lot of kill moves, dude.
The issue is that none of these moves can easily lead into a kill because all of them have to strike a target who has access to what...
Okay, he says none of them lead into a kill. Well, that's a lie. I've seen back air fair. I've seen fair. I've seen up air finishing touch. And also, even if they don't lead into a kill, they do kill eventually on their own at a pretty reasonable percent, so...
For example, Luigi's up B is one of the scariest moves in his kit, but if you take a look at the move on its own, it's basically Ganon Warlock punch levels of garbage.
That's rage bait, right? That's gotta be rage bait. That entire sentence, whatever point he was making, just listen to that sentence again.
If you take a look at the move on its own, it's basically Ganon Warlock punch levels of garbage.
That's rage bait, right?
Yes.
High key rage bait. I don't like. I know he's talking about the move individually, but come on. Yeah, I'm gonna parry neutral get up and do Warlock Punch. Okay. Okay. Like,
Not only does he have one of the worst grabs in the game in range and speed, but his throws are rather unproductive.
there is no such thing as a bad grab. There is no such thing as a bad grab in the game. Just throw that out there. We never complain about grabs in this house.
It's honestly quite easy to shield camp against him, as there's no real way he can punish you for doing so. The worst that could happen is you take 12% from a grab.
Okay. His point is that you can shield camp versus Cloud, but dude is full of safe pressure. So I disagree, like, a lot. That's insane. What do you mean you can't punish him for hitting your shield? I don't want to shield camp him. Are you kidding me? He is chunking your shield. And then, yeah, he's also so guilty of shield poking so many characters too. If you know how to aim your hitboxes. I feel like I'm like, I don't know if other players have caught on to this, but I'd be trying to poke shields nowadays. That's how impoverished I've been playing.
While Cloud does have a lot of attacks that can kill, you're never really put in a position where you're checkmated or absolutely screwed against him. There's like 1 or 2 spots where Cloud can practically kill you early, fair into fair at the ledge to spike you off stage, or
it's Nair flip kick all over again. Guys, he can only kill you in 2 spots. To be fair, I kind of agree with what he's saying here, but like, you know, it's the zero suit argument. She can't really kill you early until she kills you early. You know what I mean?
but none of those situations can be consistently achieved.
Okay, can we just admit here that he's doing these up airs very poorly and that this is a complete misrepresentation of landing up air as the Cloud down player over here? You can definitely hit this.
Or for instance, Kazuya spamming electric over and over works because he backshots you if he lands one of them. Speaking of Kazuya and Samus, you can't shield against them despite them pressuring you to do so because both of them have kill throws. Back to Cloud, he has a strong advantage state, a good juggle game, and great corner pressure. No one can deny that.
I agree with the overall concept. I think Cloud is a little overrated for, you know, mid-level players. I feel like or even some high-level players are like, no, Cloud is God, blah, blah, blah. But like, it's a very simple reason, and it's the ones that I've already explained. Like, he's just kind of simple sometimes, and I think he's good. It's just hard to mix with him. You know, he's a risky character to play, and you need to be able to take risks, and you need to be able to calculate just who you even need to take risks against, you know?
Factor number 3 actually pertains to Cloud's recovery. I did say earlier that his recovery is honestly not that bad, and I still stand by that. Distance-wise, it doesn't go very far, but he's no Chroma Dr. Mario. All the same, that doesn't mean recovery isn't a concern. For most of the best characters in the game,
I don't think his recovery is that bad, and the fact that they buffed it pisses me off, because like, it was low-key real, and then they made everybody snap ledge faster. And Cloud benefited the most from that, and basically every character in the entire game. Hate that. You know what makes Cloud's recovery good is that the threat of a reversal is very real. It's kind of like edge guarding Chrom. Sometimes you just die at maybe 0, except Cloud has like, you know, the up B that does that, and also the forward air that says fuck off, and the nair that says get away from me, and the side B to stall. You know what I mean? It's a decent recovery. Is it one of the best? No. Is it on the lower end, as, you know, as far as most top tiers are concerned? Yeah, I'd say. But it's not bad.
And before you say limit, that's the fakest thing ever. Playing around limit Cloud is the same as playing around regular Cloud.
That's a lie. Playing around limit Cloud is the same as playing around regular Cloud. Dude, he's much faster. Hello?
I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have, I would appreciate it if you could leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on...
Hell yeah. I'd say a good video overall. I mean, you know, some disagreeable points in there, which I've already done. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Subscribe while you're down there. And Sora players, get your together, because you guys should be much better. And I don't know how that's the takeaway that I got from this video, but he shouldn't be that bad. He's held back by his stats, I won't lie, but he's also a touch of death character. You guys just suck.